Welcome to the Floral Shop podcast, where flowers and business blend seamlessly. Join our journey to uncover the secrets of elite event designers and get insights into the art of running a successful floral shop. Here is your host, Ziv Raviv.
Hello and welcome to the Floral Shop podcast. Today, my guest is Jennifer McGarigle from Los Angeles, California. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hello. Thank you. Very good. And thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Floral art, that's already like a very special name. Maybe even like it sets a high level of expectation. Did that ever create an interesting dialogue with a client, or they just see it as a brand name and they don't ask any question about it?
I think when I first started the business, I was thinking, I couldn't think of what the name should be. So I thought, I'll just use this as a description for what it is that I do. However, I didn't mean for it to come off as being pretentious in any way. I just thought of it as a description and really just going to this sort of the concept of creating installation with fresh flowers. So that means changing their form into ways that you might not expect to see flowers.
And I noticed that on your website, you have a nice mix of different legs of the business of the floral industry. You send flowers, but you also have subscriptions. You design events, but you occasionally also dabble with some workshops. So I want to start by asking, what's your favorite?
I would say definitely the floral installations projects. And I also really enjoy teaching the floral design, which I have for the past, I lost track, but I think about 15 years.
Wow. So what does it mean to teach people? Is it like a fun evening? Tell me all about your classes.
Yeah. So I look at classes kind of like throwing a party. It's like throwing a dinner party, right? So, and also just getting back to actual floral design, I look at it, our design, as similar to interior design or fashion, right? And there are so many different styles of floral design. And so just like interior design, there's mid-century modern, there might be Art Deco, or in fashion, sort of Gucci 70s inspired, or, there's just so many different directions to take it. And not only in the way that the flowers are actually arranged in a vase or outside of a vase, but how are they accessorized, right? How are the flowers an extension of a particular genre and style? And how do you make that translation? And so the classes are curated to draw on this sort of genre theme, of a particular style, or highlighting a flower say peonies, because every woman loves peonies. And so it is, I would say, drawing on that theme and then having people showing them how to make a floral arrangement step by step, and then doing these simplified DIYs at the end so that they can see how that one arrangement then becomes the theme for a party or a tabletop, and other things that they can do to add on to that.
I'm curious about your style. How would you consider the style of the floral arrangements that you show on your website? Would you consider them to be a specific style that, how would you describe them?
Mm-hmm. I would say that there is a range in style. However, you'll see that it's very consistent as well. So for example, naturalistic design is very much in trend right now, and it has been now for a few years. And that's very pretty, but it is just one thing. And So my interpretation of that naturalistic would probably be, I would say, with more flowers and a little bit more condensed. But so that's just like one interpretation of naturalistic design. And then there's more compact. But I'd say, yeah, there's a range for sure. But even more so in the classes.
So you like to allow your clients to be drawn to different styles of flower designs, from the smaller designs that are more spacious all the way to like the more natural condensed designs. Who took the pictures of the flowers on your site?
A lot of them are professionally photographed for the events, I would say. But in terms of the individual floral arrangements on the site, I mean, we just take them in-house in a photo booth with an iPhone.
They're really nice. They're just very, very well made. They are impressive.
I think that flowers are like women. They like to be photographed slightly above looking down. And we all look better that way, including flowers.
Love it. That's such a nice tip. Thank you. I want to ask you about, how do you tackle the problem when, let's say, someone says, hey, I want to buy the plum simplicity, but you don't have the specific flowers for that? Or do you actually keep everything on stock? How do you manage your inventory?
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, we let our clients know, and this is notified on the website, that if you have specific requests for certain arrangements, to give us 24, 48-hour notice. So that allows us to make those purchases ahead of time, of course. But we take same day deliveries all the time. And when we don't have the exact product in, we make suggestions on substitutions. And most often, I would say, clients want to just know that it's in a particular color palette with a particular style and feel to it. So if you can at least do the same style and same colors, then people seem to be very happy.
I'm curious about your point of view about bouquets that are wrapped with floral paper or with paper in general. Is that something that like 80% of the clients go for the paper, or 20%? Or how do you estimate the amount of people that prefer just directly to go to the classic paper versus a vase?
I would say, I mean, most of the people come to us because of the way that the flowers are actually arranged in a vase. And the wrap bouquets are, I would say, mostly seasonal. And that season is going to be peony season, because everyone loves a dozen, 2 dozen peonies wrapped in gorgeous paper. So that's primarily when we do wrap bouquets. So that would be May, in the height of peony season here in the States. Or it would be in, say, like November, December, when the peonies are coming in from New Zealand.
I wonder about your custom installation clients. What type of a process do you go through from the moment they call you and tell you, can you do flowers in our wedding, all the way till the wedding day? Like what's the steps that you usually take them through?
Well, I would say certainly, I mean, there are examples of installations for weddings for sure. But I'll use another example of one of, I would say, a memorable installation for us, which was, it was an exhibit for the San Diego Museum of Art in their rotunda. And that was basically, it was a 40-foot high rose chandelier. So, and I say that loosely, but basically it was on a motorized lift. So, and they were these layers of modern clean line, clear acrylic rectangles and cubes filled with lush red roses. But it had this tiered effect, so that was 40 feet high. And that was something that was basically came from looking at the space what would it take to fill it, have impact, and last. And so it starts with the space. And then in that particular case, I worked with an architect friend of mine to create the 3D rendering. And then you start building and having things fabricated and step by step until you get to the day of. And so that was a memorable one.
So what's the timeline that you usually need for a project like that?
You know what? I would say some of these take months and months. That being said, I mean, some of my biggest jobs have happened within 1 month notice. And it's become crazier over these years. And because a lot of people, because we work with a lot of high-end luxury brands and they need things right away. And so it becomes all consuming. And there are so many details to map out. And I really do believe that if you're organized and you've got to address every single detail ahead of time, that's how you'll have success. Because if one isn't organized and you miss those details along the way, there is always going to be issues on site that happen the day of installation. And if you're behind, it's going to go downhill. So, which I could give you an example of something that literally did go downhill if you'd like.
Please, I'm curious.
I had a wedding once and it was a huge floral wall. And I mean, everything was set, running on time, prepared. It was in Santa Barbara and I arrived on site. It was relaxed. My team was there. They started putting everything up. Anyway, and I thought I had known like this space really well, which was on a lawn. But it turns out that even though the lawn looked flat, it certainly wasn't level. So we had to do a lot of last minute tweaks to make sure that wall was secure. We didn't want to lose our bride and groom on the wedding day, right? So anyway, it all happened, but it was a little, let's say, rushed. And by the end of the day, it looked like I put my finger in a socket.
Wow, that sounds very stressful. But how did the client respond to the wall?
They loved it. And of course, they had no idea what we had to do to make it happen.
So I want to ask you, Jennifer, about Floral Art's vision. Like, where do you go with this? What's your future looking like if everything goes smoothly and flower beds in your journey everywhere you go?
Well, I would say that over these 25 years or so, I mean, there's been a lot of, like, it's evolved in different ways. And I started with one client working out of my house. And then I made gradual moves to smaller studio, a bigger one, and then into a big retail store with an attached design studio, then to like a 6,000 square foot production studio. So I really experienced the gamut of running different kinds of really running the business in different ways. And now I'm really working on scaling the business so that it's smaller and I can focus on specific projects that I really enjoy. And that includes designing more products and teaching more.
So what type of space do you want to have?
I'm going for, I would say, like a hybrid of a gallery / studio workshop. So the idea is that, it's a place where we can invite our clientele to come in and do the design classes and find inspiration. We'll also have paintings and art and tabletop accessories along with some of these new products that I'm designing.
And are you already looking for a new location?
Yes. We've been in the process of looking and it is coming soon at any moment.
How exciting. Like a new chapter in your long and like many years of being in the business. So how do you hire people for your business? Is there something that is one of the hurdles of your day-to-day, or you're pretty well set with your team?
I think that I'm pretty set with the current team that I have. That being said, over the years, I think that one of the things that's the most important being a creative individual owner is understanding all of the layers of business. So that's the business side of it, understanding your budgets, P&Ls, your marketing, like what each person does. So not only does that make your business run more efficiently, or it has for me, but then, if you have a deeper understanding of these things, then you know who to hire to do the jobs. And I think that is where it gets tricky, because it's hard to hire someone to do the job without knowing what it really entails. So at least having that understanding, I think that helps. And I've certainly learned through trial and error.
What's one tip that you would give to yourself for young Jennifer that just got started with flowers?
Oh, I would say that's it. I used to think that a bigger business was a better business, because I'm someone who comes from, I like growth. I like expansion. I like thinking of new things all the time. Like I'm a risk taker by nature. And in some ways that has served me well. And in other ways, I would say, when I look back, I would say really just going back to what I just said, which is having that understanding of like the business side of it. I mean, it's kind of miraculous that I'm still here and that I've made all of the mistakes that I've made. And that's why I think partnership can be a real advantage in this industry, because you can have someone who runs the business and someone who's the creative. And that's a beautiful blend when it works well between the people. But I always had to do both.
I think you're very humble, and that's a good place to be and to stay in. And I do want to take off my hat for you, because you actually just staying in business for 25 years and going to like the size of the spaces that you got to, and realizing that you no longer need or want to be using that type of space, and moving now to a new location that actually fits what you want to do. What type of light do you want to bring to this world, with a little bit more teaching and more custom? And when you look through your website, you could actually see that your installs are quite varied, like diverse. You do a lot of different projects that are very inspiring. So I recommend people to go to floralartla.com, and just check your designs and check what you do. I think that anyone listening to this just need to stop their car right now, stop whatever you're doing, check floralartla.com, because not just the custom installs, but also all of the bouquet pictures are very inspiring, and they make you want to buy those flowers on the spot. So Jennifer, I want to thank you for sharing your story and your point of view with us in the Floral Shop podcast. And now, if you're ready, we're going to transition into the game show. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much. I appreciate all that. Yes, go for it.
Okay, so here we go. The Floral Shop podcast game show. Question number 1. What's the best way to keep flowers hydrated during hot summer days? Is it A, giving them tiny parasols for shade? B, providing them with a personal misting pan? C, keeping them in a cool location and changing the water frequently? Or D, offering them a pool party in the vase?
Definitely, I would say changing the water, keeping them in a cool place. Fresh cuts is always good. And I actually do like spray bottles for misting. So I'll just throw that in there.
So we have a combination of A lot of options. Thank you. You're correct. Question number 2. What's the best way to incorporate flowers into a wedding cake design? Is it A, sticking them on with duct tape for extra security? B, providing the cake with its own flower garden? C, creating a flower crown for the cake to wear? Or D, using pesticide-free flowers as edible decorations?
Absolutely, the pesticide-free edibles. Or actually, they don't always have to be edibles, by the way, but I mean, the pesticide-free is great. And if not, if you can't guarantee that, make sure that they're cleaned really well, those stems, so that when you insert the stems into the frosting, that they're clean.
You're correct. Question number 3. How do you ensure flowers stay picture perfect during a photo shoot? Something that you clearly do well. A, giving them a crash course in modeling. B, applying flower makeup for a flawless finish. C, misting them with water to keep them fresh. Or D, hiring a flower stylist for a makeover.
I think definitely misting, but I'm going to add like the temperature is obviously always important in the environment, keeping it cool, especially under hot lights.
Thank you. That is correct. And thank you for the additional tip of how to make them look even more fresh. Question number 4. What's the best way to create a balanced floral centerpiece? Is it A, giving each flower its own balancing beam? B, using a mix of heights and textures for visual interest? C, consulting a floral feng shui expert for harmony? Or D, hosting a flower yoga session for alignment?
Well, I want to say the last one because it's the funniest, but that's not right, of course. But I would say that the balance is created. It really depends on the particular genre, the style that you're wanting to accomplish. But that balance is created from not only shape, but color distribution. And that can also be accomplished with varying heights. But there's a few factors in there.
And I love the fact that your answers always teach us and some additional information that is good to know because there are different genres that you could choose to create balance in different ways. So thank you for reminding us. Question number 5. What's the floral term for the cluster of small flowers forming a larger flower head, often seen in daisies and sunflowers? Is it A, bloom bunch? Is it B, inflorescence? Is it C, flower huddle? Or D, petal party?
I haven't, maybe I'm too much of an old timer, but I have not heard of those terms. But I kind of like the way petal party sounds. And you know what? Even if that's wrong, I'm going to take that with me and use it for something.
I think that is a good name. My team suggested that it was inflorescence. And who knows, maybe it's even bloom bunch. Either way, you win the game show and congratulations. Your prize is a business strategy session. It's a session where we can talk about anything you like, including you moving soon to a new location, where we will map for you all the options that are free and paid for advertising your business in a new location.
Great. I love it.
Jennifer McGarigle, thank you so much for being here today with us in the show. And I wish you all the best with doing everything that you love.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And thank you for listening to the Floral Shop podcast. See you next week.
Thanks for tuning into the Floral Shop podcast. For more floral resources and stories, visit our website, floralshoppodcast.com, or step into our school at floralshopacademy.com. Don't forget to subscribe for our next flowery adventure. Keep blooming until we meet again.